Thank you very much. My name is Don Newman. I'm with the New Jersey Business Action Center. I am the manager of the Small Business Advocacy Unit. The Small Business Action Center, one of the key pieces of what we do is try to connect business owners to the resources that are available to them. This is the first in a series of virtual webinars that we're going to be providing that talk about resources and programs that small businesses especially, but all businesses can take advantage of. So we're here today with the first, which is going to be resources for nonprofit organizations, something that you don't always hear about. So I'm not going to give you a lot of information about the Business Action Center today because I want you to hear from our speakers. So we're going to move right into that part of the presentation. I do ask that if you have questions that you can go into the chat and ask your questions. Then we'll have some people monitoring that and we'll put together a Q&A session at the end. We will answer as many as we can within the time frame that we have. If we don't get to your question, feel free to reach back out to the speakers or directly to me, and I'll be glad to make sure that you get the answers that you need. Before we get started, I want to thank two people that have been very helpful with us putting this together for us, Steve Stegman and William Spear. Bill Spear is in the background running the technology for us. Steve is also working to put all this together for us, and I appreciate their help in doing this for us. So without further ado, allow me to introduce you to Linda Zippo. Linda is pardon me, I'm just pulling up some of my notes. Okay, so Linda is the president and CEO for the Center for Nonprofits. The Center for Nonprofits is, I describe it as, that's your Chamber of Commerce, but for nonprofit organizations. They're a statewide umbrella organization for the charitable community. And they can help through advocacy, education, management, and compliance assistance, and other member services. They are a member-supported organization, but they also have, they certainly are supportive of the entire nonprofit community, whether a member or not. So I'm going to turn over this presentation to Linda.
Thank you so much, Don. Thanks to the New Jersey Business Action Center for hosting this series. We are a big fan of the Business Action Center, as well as my fellow speakers, Lee Clark at the New Jersey State Library and Mary Eileen at the State Council on the Arts. So I'm going to go a little bit briefly through the Center for Nonprofits and some of the resources that we provide. You can go to the next slide, please. As Don said, we are New Jersey's statewide network and champion for the nonprofit community. We exist in a nutshell to help nonprofits on a systemic level, as well as individually, to perform their missions perhaps more easily, a little bit more effectively. Next slide. And we perform our mission in several different ways. We are involved in advocacy and public education on behalf of the charitable nonprofit community. So working to create public policies that will be helpful to nonprofits and nonprofit missions, doing research and a whole slew of other services. We provide individual services to nonprofits, capacity building, technical assistance. And as Don said, we're a membership organization, and we provide a variety of benefits and programs to help members stretch resources and improve connectivity and networking power. Next slide. We're also part of a national network called the National Council of Nonprofits. This is the country's largest network of nonprofits. Some 42, 43-ish states have organizations that are similar to us. And collectively, there are 25,000 members in the National Council of Nonprofits. So if you know of people who are interested in nonprofits in other states, please connect them with their state association. It's a great resource, and the network is fantastic. Next. So why do we do what we do? Part of it, of course, is because nonprofits provide essential programs and services, and that has not been more apparent than during the pandemic and the way nonprofits have stepped up to provide life-saving care and comfort and mental health assistance and a whole slew of other really important essential programs. But the other piece of this is nonprofits are really important to the economy as well. Nonprofits pre-COVID at least employed almost 10% of the private workforce in New Jersey. Nonprofits are a vital part of the economic engine. So if we're talking about moving New Jersey forward, keeping New Jersey strong, getting us through this recovery, we also need a good, strong, thriving nonprofit community. So that's something, information about the community as a whole is something that we do as well. Next, please. I'll be quick about the advocacy and public policy work, but it's really important because nonprofits function in a climate that depends on good, sound laws and public policies. So we work to advocate on the state level in Trenton, on the federal level in DC, and elsewhere, just to make sure that those policies are not needlessly burdensome, that they are favorable to nonprofits. So we did a lot with both on the national level, on the state level, to make sure, for example, that the COVID-19 relief programs included nonprofits, that the policies, the way they were being implemented, were in ways that nonprofits could take advantage of them, and a whole lot more. So we have more information on our website about everything that I'm going to talk about, but this is just a nutshell about what we do in public policy. We also have an email list that I'll encourage all of you to sign on to keep up to date about what we're doing. Next. Related to the advocacy and public policy is making sure that the media understands and shares that story about how nonprofits are, how important nonprofits are. So we've done a lot of work on with a lot of the media outlets as well, in partnership with a lot of other organizations. We also have a program on Princeton Community TV and a lot of other services, but working with the media and sharing that story about nonprofits is also a critical part of what we do. So we need to know, to that end, we need to know what you're doing so that we can be sure that others are informed about all the great things that are going on in the nonprofit community. Next. We do a lot in the way, part of this work involves documenting how nonprofits are coping in the environment. So we do a lot of surveying and research reports and the like. This slide just talks about a few of them. The compensation and benefits study of New Jersey nonprofits, a study of the diversity within nonprofits, which is something that's of critical importance. We did a lot of surveying and continue to do a lot of surveying around the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on nonprofits, what happened, how it has been affecting nonprofits, and what nonprofits have been doing, both to provide services and programs in the pandemic, but what else is needed. And our most recent survey, our annual Trends and Outlook report, was just published in late February. All of these, most of these reports are available on our website. Next. So we are, in the most fundamental sense, we are in the information business. And in addition to the broad-based educational activities I was just talking about, we provide information and knowledge to nonprofits individually as well. So we provide webinars, workshops, both live and recorded. We also have a help desk, which I'll talk about in a moment. We do individualized presentations and trainings. And of course, we have a variety of publications and information available on our website. Next. So for example, if you were to go on our website and you clicked on the tab for recorded webinars, you would see dozens and dozens of options there on a whole slew of different topics: boards and governance and finance and stress management, and the American Rescue Plan Act, which we presented in partnership with Senator Booker. A whole slew of other information, topics that are relevant to nonprofits and the way they run. So we certainly encourage you to check that out on our website so you can see the kinds of things that are available to you. Next. We also have a very popular service called our Nonprofit Help Desk. If you have a question about your nonprofit, you can email us and ask your question. We answer all of them. And it could be anything about your board issues or governance issues to you're looking for an accountant or an auditor or all sorts of other things. It is free. Just you send us an email and we will get back to you. If we don't have the actual answer, we will give you a meaningful lead. We do not leave people with nowhere to turn. So that's a really important and helpful service that you can take advantage of. And again, you can see that on our website as well. Next. Got ahead of myself a little bit, but here's some of the kinds of questions that we get. We get a lot of questions about boards. We get a lot of questions about fundraising laws and regulations, HR issues, referral, and other questions. We are not attorneys. We can't provide legal advice, but we do provide compliance information, and we can connect you to other resources as needed. Next. One of the questions we get most often is pertains to how do I start a nonprofit? I see a need in my community. I really think that I would like to form a nonprofit to try to address it. We do not provide one-on-one assistance with that process, but there is a boatload of information on our website, including a free booklet about some of the things you need to think about if you're contemplating going down this route. It is something that you need to consider very carefully, but we do provide a lot of links and information. And again, this guidebook also has a checklist and a lot of helpful details that can help you decide whether you want to go that route or what to do if in fact you do. Next, please. One of our most popular pages is a job posting page. We will post, if you have a nonprofit job that you'd like to announce for your organization, or if you are a job seeker who is interested in seeking employment in the nonprofit sector in New Jersey, we have a jobs page that is just for you. We will post openings. Our members get to post for free. Non-members post for a fee, but those openings are up for at least 30 days, sometimes longer. And there's a lot of really interesting opportunities there. So please check that out. And again, if you are with a nonprofit and would like to post, you can find out more about how to do that. Next. Another guide that you may find helpful, this is something that we published last year and we'll be updating shortly, but this is what the name says here on the slide. Going forward, it's a guide about some of the considerations around reopening for those who have been working remotely or had their either partially or in whole. We published a guide that provides some of the things you might want to think about as you go through with this process, whether you are going to reopen fully your facility or whether you're thinking about a hybrid solution or something else. So certainly we encourage you to check that out. That is also available free of charge on our website. And we also, at the time when we released that first edition, we also conducted a webinar, and that recording is also available on our website. We do have a COVID-19 resource page, which is nonprofit specific. It includes a lot of information for nonprofits, some of the considerations you want to keep in mind. It links to some of the funding information, some of the other pages that Grantmakers and others created about some of the funding opportunities in COVID, and a whole slew of other information. So please take a few moments and check that out. There are also links to a lot of free webinars and articles and whatnot that will help you as we go through this recovery together. Next. Before I turn things back over to Don and the rest of the presentation, I do have a couple of time-sensitive invitations for the nonprofits on this call. Next, please. First is we are doing, in partnership with the Provident Bank Foundation, a 4-part webinar series called Navigating Uncertain Times, Insights and Strategies for Nonprofits. This will take place during the first 2 weeks of May, and we have different sessions devoted to different topics. We know that these are critically uncertain times, and there are a lot of different pieces that nonprofits need to think about and have already been thinking about in terms of moving our way forward. This is almost, we're hopefully seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with respect to the pandemic and the recovery, but there's still a lot to negotiate for nonprofits. And this webinar will help you address some of these issues. So it is multi-part. Center members do are able to register for free, and it's a very nominal fee for others. So I certainly encourage you to check that out on our events page. And next slide, please. And last, before I get to our contact information, Center for Nonprofits, as I mentioned earlier in my talk, does a salary and compensation and benefits and diversity survey of the New Jersey nonprofit community. Salary information is one of the most frequent requests that we get at the Center for Nonprofits, and we have a survey that is open now and it's live. If you are with a 501c3 nonprofit, we certainly urge you to complete that survey to make sure that we have a good picture of what the salary and compensation and diversity practices are at nonprofits. And our way of thanking you if you complete this survey is when the report is published later this fall, you will get a free copy, and it's a very comprehensive report. So it is, does take a little bit of time depending on how many staff you have, but it is well worth the effort, and the information it will yield is so important. So thank you for looking into that as well. More information on our website. Next question, next slide rather. Just a shameless plug. We are a membership organization. Membership provides a wide variety of other benefits to you, and we encourage you to check that out as well. A lot to offer in terms of center membership, and happy to answer questions about that. Next. And please follow us, join our email list for free, of course. Follow us on social media. We get a lot of breaking news that we share on social media sometimes before it gets to our website or other other channels. So please take some time and feel free to follow us. We would love to stay connected, and welcome the chance to answer questions when the time comes. And thank you. My contact information is on the next slide, but we look forward to staying in touch, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the presentations. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. I'm going to give you one little plug. I got to tell you, I've attended the Center for Nonprofits statewide conference a couple of times now, and obviously it's not going to be live again until after the pandemic. But what a great event, educational. You can learn a lot by attending that event and going to the breakout sessions that they offer. I was very pleased with that, devoting that time to go to one of their events, their conference. It's really a very helpful program that they put on. So thank you very much, Linda.
Thank you.
So next up is Lee Clark from the State Library. So Lee is a business and funding information librarian, basically a reference librarian. One of the greatest surprises that I had when I first started doing this work was the vast amount of resources that are available to you at the library. So we're going to have another session on one of our other webinars on sort of resources that you may not know about, sort of other resources. And one of the speakers is going to be one of Lee's colleagues from the library to talk a little bit more in general about what the library can do. Lee's going to talk to you about, the services for nonprofits, but never underestimate the amount of work and benefits you can get by engaging with your librarian. That's my message for today, and I suspect that Lee's message is not going to be very different than that. But so again, I'm very happy to present to Lee Clark, who is the one of the reference librarians with the New Jersey State Library.
Thank you, Don. We always like a plug for the library, so that's awesome. Yes, as Don said, my name is Lee Clark. I'm the Business and Funding Information Librarian within Reference Services Department at the State Library. I'm one of a number of reference librarians that work at the State Library's Information Center and are available to assist you with your reference questions. I specialize in business and nonprofit research. And I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about our Funding Information Center collection. So it's one of many collections that we have at the State Library that specifically serves individuals and nonprofits looking for funding opportunities. Next slide. So our Funding Information Center, as I said, helps individuals and nonprofits looking for research on funding opportunities, mostly grant research, but we do help with other funding related resources. We've been a Funding Information Network member with Candid since 1974, making us one of the longest FIN members in that network. You might know Candid better as the Foundation Center. About 2 years ago, the Foundation Center and GuideStar merged to become Candid as a new nonprofit. And through that partnership that we have with Candid, we provide free access to their Grantmaker databases. These databases include the Foundation Directory Online. And if I say FDO a lot today, I just mean Foundation Directory Online. So we provide access to FDO Professional and grants for individuals. And these databases let you look at the past giving for a funder, and using that past giving, match your organization's mission with the funder's priorities. So it's not like GrantStation where there's active grants. You're looking at the past giving trends of the funder. Now, I said we provide on-site access to FDO Professional and grants for individuals. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we've been closed since March. We are part of the Capitol complex, so we are still closed to the public, and we're located in Trenton. But luckily for us, Candid has allowed us to provide remote access to another database that they have, FDO Essential. So the Foundation Directory Online Essential is a slightly less robust version of FDO Professional. And I'm going to show you just a very quick view of what it looks like today, just very briefly. In addition to our electronic resources, we do have over 1,000 print resources within this collection, including directories, books, and periodicals. Normally, you can request these materials, which are on nonprofit management, philanthropy, really anything you can think of within the nonprofit sector. We probably have a material on it. Normally, you can request those through your public library using interlibrary loan. Unfortunately, due to COVID, that service is currently not available, but hopefully it will become available again in the future. We do offer free classes, some of which I teach, others we have outside speakers that come in. They are free to the public, and you can register on our website at the link on the screen, www.njstatelib.org/events. We have a class on Thursday that I'm teaching on how to use FDO Essential to research grant funders. So if you're interested in learning more about that database and how to access it, I encourage you to register. It is free. If you can't attend in person, we do record them. So they're available on our YouTube channel as well. Next slide. We are not the only Funding Information Network location in New Jersey. We are one of 7 libraries throughout the state that provide access to those databases that I mentioned. And there are approximately 400 nationwide. So I encourage you to take a look at this map, see what location is closest to your organization, and reach out to your local organization to try to get those services, because it's important to know what's in your community. You may have a location that is actually in a different state. So I've included the link at the bottom of the screen, candid.org/find-us. So you can type in your zip code and find the closest location, whether it's in New Jersey or not. Next slide. This is our Funding Information Center's webpage, where you can find links to pretty much anything that I'm going to talk about today. So if you remember one thing, and I'll put this in the chat after I'm done talking, remember this website. Here you can find access to FDO Essential. You can find links to our research guides, as well as tutorial videos and recorded webinars. So this is a great site to remember. At the top, you can see that we have a link to FDO Essential. If you click this link, you will be directed to a form where you can request access to our account for the database. Once you submit that form, you'll get an email with a link, and you can use that link to register and get access to FDO Essential. In the next slide, if we can advance the slide, I just wanted to give you a quick snapshot of what FDO Essential looks like, so you kind of have an idea of like what you're getting into. This is the landing page that you would see. There's a simple search box in the center where you would put in what you're trying to fund and where that funding is going to be used. For example, if you're searching for senior services in New Jersey, you could type that in. And then in the next slide, if we can advance that, you can also search using advanced search filters and features. And here you can see kind of where those terms fall. The subject area is senior services, geographic focus is New Jersey. You can also put in a population that you're trying to look for. You can also type in a specific organization name if you're looking for a specific funder. And here you can see the two types of results that are listed in this database, grant makers and 990 tax forms. Grants and recipients aren't included in the remote access for FDO Essential, but they are available in FDO Professional on site if you have a location that is open. Unfortunately for the state library, we're not open, but if you need that information, you can always email me with a specific funder. I can get you the grant and recipient information for a certain amount of years. So you just say, I need information on so-and-so foundation for the past 5 years. I can give that to you. You just send me an email. In the next slide, I just wanted to show you what the Grantmaker results list looks like, the kind of data that's available for you. And if you were to click the name of that foundation, you would open up a Grantmaker profile. You can exclude grantmakers not accepting applications. You can adjust based on assets and total giving. And a lot of that information is coming from the 990 tax forms that these foundations submit to the IRS. So in the next slide, I just want to give you a brief glimpse into what a profile looks like, just two small parts of it. This is what the top looks like. It's a 5-year snapshot of the total giving for that funder. So you can see where what you need to fund fits in within the funder's priorities. So if you're looking to fund something in health, this is probably a good funder. Robert Wood Johnson, that's primarily what they give in. They give heavily in New Jersey, and you can see their average grant amount, the most common grant that they give, right at the top of the profile. In the next slide, I just wanted to show you kind of the most common section that people like to look at, and that's the application and RFP section. You can get information on how to apply. If there's any giving limitations, I always look at that first, just so you're not looking at something where you're excluded from it. And on the left-hand side, you can see a list of all the sections in that profile. And these can be saved and you can access them as a PDF outside of the database for later research. All right, so in the next slide, we're going back to our Funding Information Center webpage. Again, there's that link at the top for FDO Essential. Bill, can you move to the next slide? If you scroll down a little bit, we have links to our tutorial videos. So again, I'm not getting into like how you use FDO Essential today, but you can attend our class on Thursday, or you can look at these tutorial videos. They're under 5 minutes and they'll get you kind of started in researching within the databases that we offer. We also have links to our research guides, two of which I'm going to show you today, our grant information research guide and our nonprofit management research guide, which have links to a lot of other resources that I just don't have time to mention today, including some from the Center for Nonprofits. So on the next slide, this is our grant information research guide. We have information on proposal writing, federal grants, state grants, and private grants. In the state grant section, there are links to the individual departments within the state and the pages where they provide grant information. Because it can be a little hard to dig through some of the State Department's pages. We try to make that as easy as possible. And each State Department is a little different in how they administer their grants. And we do have a page specifically for libraries as well. In the next slide, we have our nonprofit management research guide. So there's information if you're interested in starting a nonprofit, information on general fundraising resources, specific sector, nonprofit sector research and researching institutions, as well as information on employment and volunteerism if you're interested in that, working within a nonprofit, or just finding a monetary value for a salary or a volunteer within your organization. And then we do have links to professional associations within the state and nationwide. In our next slide, and this actually is linked in that nonprofit management research guide that I just said, we have our L2B, or Libraries to Business website. And this came out of the COVID-19 pandemic, where we've been kind of inundated with different webinars that we could attend. So it was co-founded by the State Library in Maine, which is the Morris County Library Consortium. to kind of collect the free virtual trainings that have been put out by libraries and other organizations, so that you can go to one place and find these really well-made trainings for your business or your nonprofit. And you can see today, under the 20th is our talk for today. So I encourage you to take a look at this and see if there's any resources that you or your staff could take advantage of. They are free, they are virtual. Under the e-resources tab are some links, and you can go to the next slide, that's fine, Bill. Are some links to the Jersey Clicks databases that are specific for businesses. I want to feature 2 today, and this is the last thing that I'm going to talk to you about. And the Jersey Clicks databases, if you're not familiar, are statewide databases that any New Jersey resident can use using their public library card. They are administered by the state library, but any New Jersey resident can use them. They're free to access with a public library barcode. So I wanted to feature Reference Solutions. You might know Reference Solution better as Reference USA. They just changed their name not that long ago. And they have a suite of directories. Specifically, I wanted to point out the US Business Directory, the standard white pages for the United States, and they have a consumer and lifestyles database. And these can be very valuable for market and industry research, especially if you're thinking about starting a nonprofit, or you're starting to branch out into different fields within your nonprofit. And then you can also use them for corporate and donor prospect research as well. Then we have the Small Business Reference Center. This has a whole host of ebooks specifically published by NOLO, which provide legal reference guides. And there are ones that are specifically targeted to the nonprofit community. And again, if you're thinking about starting a nonprofit, they have one specifically for that as well as ones for board governance and other topics within nonprofit management. So the next slide is just my contact information. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I am working from home, so email is best. My email is lclark@njstatelib.org. I have included my phone number. I can be reached with that. And then we are on Twitter at NJSL Funding Info. I do post RFP announcements, different professional developments that are free, and news from the New Jersey nonprofit sector. And again, I'm going to put that link in the chat for our Funding Information Center page, because really anything I talked about today is going to be linked there. So I appreciate the Business Action Center for allowing us to talk about the services that library has, and I enjoy hearing the rest of the services as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee, and you're always welcome to speak to our groups, because always fascinating information. So next up is Mary Eileen Ferrant. She belongs to the New Jersey State Council of the Arts, which is actually a sister division within the Secretary of State's office. That's where the Business Action Center resides, is under the authority of the Secretary of State. Mary Eileen has been involved in the arts for many years. She spent many years at Monmouth County Council to the Arts, and now is a program director in the State Council. And the arts, you know, she's going to talk to you about the resources they have for nonprofits. You know, and the arts enhances all of our lives. But I'm a business guy, and I got to tell you, there's never been more of an opportunity for business, you know, arts as a business as there is today. So I always try to make that message, give that message out to people, that if you are an artist and you want, you know, or you have a vision of a gallery or music or culinary arts, it's still an art. You know, reach out to me and let's talk and see if there's something that we can do to help you down that path and learn about how to make your art into a business. But that's not the topic for today. The topic for today is support for nonprofit organizations. So I give you Mary Eileen.
Thanks so much, Don. And that sounds like a great topic for another webinar, definitely. So the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, we are here to support the arts throughout the state of New Jersey, and that includes every artistic discipline. It includes nonprofit arts organizations. It includes artists. It includes people who love the arts. As Don said, the arts are critical to our lives. We feel they're central. And I think this past year has shown how important the arts have been in helping people get through the lockdown and being isolated. So our council is actually made up of volunteers who are the council members. They're appointed by the governor. And then we as the professional staff support them with our work. And the council's funded through a dedicated renewable revenue source, the hotel motel tax. And we also receive a competitive grant from the National Endowment for the Arts that we apply to each year. Next. So this past year, as everyone else was shut down, the arts were shut down, and nonprofit arts organizations, just because you're nonprofit doesn't mean you're not a business, and you rely on earned revenue and ticket sales, and all of that was turned off like a spigot. And the nonprofit arts industry in New Jersey is made up of more than 500 theaters, museums, galleries, performing arts centers, dance companies, symphonies, and other cultural groups. It supports 22,000 jobs and has a pivotal role in education. And the economic impact was more than $662 million. And this past year, arts organizations had more than 30 million in lost revenue. So the State Arts Council focused a lot of our efforts this past year on some COVID relief efforts. We were fortunate to get 5 million in New Jersey CARES funds that we were able to get out on a needs-based grant to 94 arts groups. We were able to give out $5,000 need-based individual artist recovery grants to 80 New Jersey artists. We were able to take some other monies, $750,000 for COVID critical need grants to 50 arts groups for PPE. And we helped to create the New Jersey Arts and Culture Recovery Fund, which has raised more than $4 million to help arts and cultural organizations with grants. We partnered with the New Jersey Economic Development Authority on arts-specific webinars about EDA recovery programs. And our executive director, Allison Tratner, is co-chair of the governor's Arts and Culture Recovery Working Group, because it's going to be, it's been very important to think about how the arts are going to recover because they have such a big economic impact. And we also shifted the Cultural Trust grants, which alternate each year, arts and history. So it was our arts year to prioritize financial stabilization. And so with all of these extra relief efforts, we gave out about $9 million in 362 grants, in addition to our regular programs and our regular grants. Next. So as we know, we're very happy that we've all gotten through this first year, but we know this next year is going to be equally challenging, if not more so. So it is good news that there is some ongoing relief efforts and some upcoming ones. So just a few weeks ago, we heard that we will be getting 7.5 million for the council to support nonprofit arts organizations, and another 7.5 million will go to the New Jersey Economic Development Authority to support for-profit arts organizations. And then we also have the shuttered venues federal funding, which performing arts centers, some larger theaters, and both for-profit and nonprofit will be able to apply for. That opened up briefly, and then the system crashed, so they're trying to fix that, and it will be reopening soon. We also know that there are going to be additional relief funds going to the National Endowment for the Arts, and that 40% of that must go to the state arts agencies. So in the last round, when this happened last year, New Jersey Arts Council received around $400,000. So we don't know the exact number yet, but we'll be receiving something. And then the governor's proposed budget increases council funding for fiscal year 22, which could be a huge help in gap funding that these organizations are going to need as they open back up, ramp back up, have expenses for starting their productions up, but don't yet have earned income coming in to cover that. Next. So all of this extra COVID relief efforts that we undertook, we also continued our ongoing programs and services. As the largest funder in the state, it's really critical that our general operating support and general program support grants continued to help stabilize organizations. So we were able to get those funds out, and we were able to get them out months early, which was a huge help when there were so many unknowns. The next 3-year cycle for these grants will be fiscal year 23 to 25. We also have a partnership with the county arts agencies. They apply to us for our local arts program, and then they use those funds to re-grant to smaller, more grassroots arts organizations in their counties, and also for their own programs and services. We have folk arts apprenticeships that pair mentor folk artists and who are masters in their discipline with apprentices, and they get to work together for a year. We also have individual artists fellowship awards. Disciplines rotate every 3 years, and these are based on work that the artists have already done. So they're terrific awards because you can use it for almost anything except international travel and matriculated studies, so that you could use it to pay for a babysitter so you can do your art. You could use it for materials. You could use it for rent. So they're highly, highly prized. We also participate in the Families First program with a Discovery Pass that provides free and heavily discounted arts programs and classes for families who have the Families First benefits. We give out arts education special initiative grants for organizations focused on arts education. I had mentioned the New Jersey Cultural Trust grants for arts and history, and our next art cycle will be fiscal year 23. And we partner with Art Pride New Jersey on Discover Jersey Arts to market the arts, to ensure that residents of New Jersey know of all the wonderful arts activities that are taking place. Of course, the past year, most of these have been virtual, but some organizations were able to do outdoor events as well, and are certainly gearing up as the weather gets nicer to do more outdoor. And then we partner with the New Jersey Theater Alliance on the Cultural Access Network to ensure that the arts are accessible to everyone in New Jersey. And we work with our arts groups to help them become more accessible. One thing I did not put on here that, and we're actually partners, one of the partners is the State Library, is the New Jersey Cultural Alliance for Response, which helps to work on emergency preparedness for arts and cultural organizations, and as well as recovery and response. And so obviously that's been a big topic this year. Next. I mentioned the local arts program and the county arts agency. So no matter where you are, you have a county arts agency. They all have different names. Most of them are part of the county government and also cover historic issues as well, and give out grants to history organizations. But if you want individual contacts from them, you can just let me know and I will be happy to get that to you. Next. So, stay connected. There's our website, and you can sign up for both opportunities for the field and our COVID-19 resource newsletter. You can connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. And just as the other organization said, we put breaking news out there, and opportunities for grants that come up. Definitely visit Art Pride New Jersey, which is our state arts advocacy group. They have a lot of resources, COVID related, and a lot of information on the economic impact of the arts. And it's broken down by legislative district, and you can get a lot of great information about both the for-profit and the nonprofit arts in your region. And then be sure to check out the New Jersey Arts and Culture Recovery Fund. They gave out one round of grants already. They are about to give out their second round, and they've raised over $4 million and are continuing to fundraise. So hopefully there will be a third round. And I just wanted to mention that next week, the arts community is holding a Create Change 2-day conference to move towards equity, justice, and anti-racism in the New Jersey arts community. So you can still sign up for that, and I'll put the link in the chat. But the field is really looking at how we can make the arts community more equitable for everyone in New Jersey. Next. And there's my contact information. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions, or if you want contact information, and if I don't have the answer, I will get you to the correct council person, staff person who does, or who's the expert in that area, or the county agency that you're trying to reach, or any other resource you might need. So thanks so much. And I really appreciated hearing the other two presentations, because I learned a lot as well. So it's wonderful to have this opportunity to be with you all. And I appreciate the Business Action Center for pulling us together, and for all the resources you provide for our nonprofits and artists as well.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to mention that the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, my SBA contacts tell me that is going to open back up, if everything goes right, by the end of this week. So if you're interested in that program, the SBA.gov website should have more information about that grant application. And as soon as it becomes available again, like Mary Eileen said, they had some technical issues with the application when they first launched it. So that's good news that's going to be up shortly. I don't see a lot of questions, so I'm going to talk about a couple of other things, but you can advance the slide, Bill. So we have a few other webinars coming up, so feel free to log in to the Business Action Center website, which you see on the screen, and attend any of the other upcoming webinars that you may have an interest in. I know earlier there was someone that asked a question on the chat about, or is this all nonprofit? Yes, but the webinar series is not all just about nonprofits. I also want to make a quick point about the arts again. Another organization that falls under the Secretary of State's office is the Motion Picture and Television Commission for the state of New Jersey. So we help promote New Jersey as a great place to film motion pictures, television commercials, television shows, and watch the Oscars this month, because we have a couple of shows that were filmed here in New Jersey. Did a lot of work in New Jersey, including the Chicago 7. I forget the name of the movie, but a very good movie. I've watched it. And we also have The Equalizer, a television series launched recently on CBS that has been renewed for a second season. And those are both do primary photography here in New Jersey. So we do have another aspect of the arts that the state of New Jersey is very active in. Go to the next slide, Bill. So we have a list here of our contact information you can always reach us at 1-800-JERSEY-7. We have a new feature that has, which is a live chat on the business.nj.gov site. So you can ask questions within that chat to people in my office, and it's a live chat. You may get a couple of sort of responses that were pre-programmed, but once you start a conversation with someone, you're not talking to a robot, you're talking to a real person. We can connect you from that to people in the Treasury Department, people over at the EDA. We're going to expand that footprint so that you can reach us at that live chat, and then we can connect you to other organizations that can answer your specific questions that involve those organizations. Since March 1st, we are now at over 65,000 conversations that we've had with business owners, nonprofits, and other organizations that just had some questions about moving forward, getting resources or dealing with COVID. So it's a great opportunity, a great another touch point for you to connect to the state. I do see in the comments about community affairs and them participating in one of our webinars. They're going to be in one of our webinars. If you go back one slide for me, Bill. They're going to be at the lesser known resources provided by the government webinar on 8/13. We're going to have somebody from community affairs at that webinar. So thank you for that suggestion. Okay, and then you can move forward a couple for me. All right. And my information is available on that on the previous slide. You can reach out to me directly if you don't want to go through the live chat. But that's all I have. If you have any other questions, I don't know if I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat as we moving forward. But do we have any other questions, Steve? I don't think so. Okay. Well, thank you again for the presentations. As always, I always learn something as well when I listen to the presentations that all the organizations give. That's why I love doing these workshops. People, after 16 years of working with the state, I still learn something every time I talk to the other organizations that are available. So thank you very much. Is there anyone else that has any questions or before I end this event? Apparently not. Okay. Well, thank you very much for everyone, and we will be hopefully seeing you again on Thursday for our presentation on government procurement, if anyone is interested in participating in that. Thank you.